Guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We continue with our stories and topics. After several presentations and case studies in the first part, it's time for our first panel today. We call it Data Driving the World, How to Benefit from Data Economies. The moderator is Miloš Đurković, Managing Partner, Amron Serbia, with participation of Vladan Atanasijević, Chief Operational Officer, Comtrade Group, Filip Novak, Managing Partner, Chameleon Solution Croatia, Marijana Agić-Molnar, Co-founder and CEO Data Do, and Jelena Radojčić, Channel Account Manager at Haku. Yeah. The podium is yours.
Hello everybody, welcome to the panel about the fuel of the future. So it was 2006 when British mathematician Clive Humbley said his famous quote, "Data is the new oil." And since that time, last 17 years, it's very visible that data is really fuel of the new industrial revolution, like oil was in the previous, or steam power in the first industrial revolution. So, on today's panel, we will discuss with our panelists about how data are driving the world and how to benefit from the data economies. Not only in the economy, but also how data can be beneficial for the good of the societies, for the good of human being, and how all this data management should be transparent and ethical. So, one general question to all of you. How do you see data driving the world in the next 5 to 10 years? What are some key trends that you think will shape the future of the data economies? So let's start with lady first, Marijana.
Thanks. It's a $1,000,000 question. Actually, it's no-brainer if I would say that definitely more decisions in business will be data-driven. Actually, all decisions. And today, companies are really trying to be more led by data and less by intuition. And definitely in years to come, we will see more successful projects. And actually, there will be those companies that are not transforming that fast, they will be sanctioned. And therefore, it's top priority of the management to make organization data-led. And also, very interesting topic, what we will see what I said, it's obvious, it's nothing new. But what I like, what will change in the next 5 years, is actually emergence of data ecosystems and data monetizations. This is the topic that really occupies my mind. There are lots of companies creating data about their customers, and they are becoming aware how to use the data they create. Like, for example, Deleuze's business, they are rich with transactional data, they are rich with the loyalty card data, they know their customers. So their first intention is how to optimize their performance using data for their own good, for their own profit, for their own growth. But the next phase is how to monetize this data externally. And in the next 5 years, I think we will see huge change that data-rich businesses will try to create new data products and sell them on a data market. Like, for example, banks. I believe that banks will become, in a way, new media platforms because they have access to a certain groups of people and transactional data, so they can target with other products or become a new loyalty platform for like brands, for example, for Coke. So because they have access and they know customers, so they can communicate relevant messages. And not only that, they can sell data products like, for example, insights about the market and preferences. Why would you go, for example, to a traditional agency like, for example, Nielsen, to learn about market shares, if you would go to like price comparison websites that are having hundreds of thousands of products and click streams, so they can calculate market shares on a daily basis with much more precision than Nielsen can do. So we will see many new data sellers at the market, many new data products, and new models within the company will be built also not only on the data VO, but also how to integrate and enrich data VO with somebody else's data. And I'm really looking forward to that future.
Yeah, it's amazing things are in front of us. Filipe, as a part of the young generation, let's say, in this meeting, and especially in the very young business, or let's say in the business who is run the last since this humbly said this famous sentence. How do you see this and development in the next 10 years?
Well, thank you. So if you go by that parallel, if it's like oil, it means it's fuel. So I would say we shouldn't in my humble opinion, we shouldn't focus as organizations too much on the fuel, but what is it fueling? So in a sense, when you look at technology, okay, we're now swamped with the AI development and so on, which I think is setting the expectations of what will happen in the next 5 to 10 years to a much, more exponential growth path than we expected it to be. So for example, when we're talking industries, we are facing a big challenge of decrease in jobs. Some are saying almost 40%. So that's a big challenge for humanity. We're looking, for example, if you just take huge marginal reductions in production costs for manufacturing, which additional is going through automation and robotization. So, for example, in America, 10 million people live off of logistics. What when they get replaced by autonomous trucks? They don't get tired, they don't stop, they can drive forever, and they don't use fuel, they use electricity, right? Healthcare. Already now you have AI models that can predict or give diagnosis based on a wealth of information, whereas a doctor, has it all hidden somewhere in his, memory, where this has access to, humongous amounts of information. And I see this going even faster and faster because the amount of fuel we have is not limited as we have with oil. It is growing exponentially, the amount of fuel we have. So with human creativity, I think a big skill will be how to curate the data we accumulate and how we use it instead of accumulate it and have silos of data and saying, here we have a lot of data, but what you actually do with it, that will be, I think, what will set the winners and the losers for the next 5, 10 years in every industry.
Yeah, thank you very much. In regards in these biggest challenges, what we see with the data economy, Vladan and Jelena, so it's somehow connected. One of the most important things are security of the data. So could you please share with us how you are handling it and what is your opinion about the security of the data nowadays?
Would you?
Yeah, sure. So we just discussed
on our session this morning that the two challenges we are facing today is that we are not aware of all the data that is not, like business critical data that is not protected out there. And that because of this, we see a lot of ransomware attacks increasing, so we should definitely start caring about this. We see that business data is driving, and it's going and increasing. So we should definitely pay attention when how we handle with this data, because it can really hurt, and we are all potential victim of these disasters. So what are the things that maybe are good to do when it comes to data protection is implement implement access control. So implement some strong password, or do some the multi-factor authentication and other security measures, and also provide just to authorized personnel access to this data, as well encrypt sensitive data. What is also from my, for me, it's very important to have this data and backup plan in place. So if any type of disaster happens, or you are a victim actually of any type of cyber attacks, you're sure that your data is recoverable and you will be able to work with this data easily after this disaster. So also regularly update security measures, train and make sure that your employees are trained on how they can work with this data safely, and be aware of some phishing mails and threats out there that are very also increasing. Conduct regular security audits, and of course, as I said, monitor for these cyber attacks. So this is something that we should really pay attention when handling the data.
Vladimir?
Well, I would go back one step regarding the future of the data we just spoke about. I see two different branches. One is enterprise, business, and the second one is consumers. And because I'm 30 plus years in the business, so in the previous years, actually, we had a lot of data about the companies. So company keep the data, do some analytics, and we didn't have so much data about the consumers. So, whoever was working in the marketing industry, it was really challenge how to get the real data, what will be the behaviors, forming. That was the whole standard. With the social networks and the internet, actually, there is a boom about the privacy data, about the consumers, what we are doing, what are our habits, behaviors, things like that. And I see now that, the consumer business is much in advance than enterprise business if we are looking about the data. The challenge I had a few months ago was, okay, we want to do some marketing campaign, and we want to dedicate to some CTOs in the companies because we want to sell them some business. And actually, we realized, we tried to find a partner in US, that we don't have the proper data about behaviors of those people, not as what are they doing in their personal life, but how they make decision in the shoes of CTOs of the companies. So I hope that in the next 5 to 10 years, this data business will go in that direction, so we can have the good, accurate data from the enterprise, and maybe, it's obvious that all decisions now are based on the data. It's obvious a lot of things. One very important is the real data in real time, so we can really grab it and make some conclusions and make proper decisions. Also, I think the chief data officer is becoming much more important, but not only as a scientific, much more as an integrated part of the business. So, some, let's say, business-driven position, not scientific-driven like it is now.
Yeah. Thank you very much. When we talk about data, it's very important that we ensure that we use the data on the ethical and transparent level. So, Filipe, can you talk a little bit about how we can ensure that we are using data on the ethical and transparent level, or to share with us a couple of best practices.
Well, it's a question I think everybody, especially when you work in sales, that you face. You know, for example, when I was working in Salesforce, you have very strict policy and procedures because it's a publicly traded company. It's also a big corporation, so it's very well structured. And let's say in the CRM you have contact details, and for example, you cannot reach out, you cannot data scrape anymore the web and find an email address and send it. It's a breach of GDPR, right? Or obviously it has to be in the public space. But some of those tools don't operate like that. So then you're in a conflict, right? Well, I mean, you have that, your brain works like that you try to justify your move. I mean, at the end of the point, am I going to send that email? I'm in the Balkans, it's okay, but it's not okay. So every person, every job, especially that every position will be using some kind of BI tool, will have those kind of conflicts, personal conflicts. So I think it starts on an organizational level at that, moral compass, which is set out by leadership. And then you have obviously processes. We already know, before GDPR, now the B2C, the customers are more aware about their private data, so they are, if there is a breach, they will fluctuate to a brand that protects that. So, CIO is one of the top priorities, data privacy, right? But the question is, to what degree? Even the biggest companies like Meta, we know what kind of scandals they had. So the question is, yeah, it will be difficult, I would say. I would say because now also with AI, with everybody speaking about ChatGPT and so on, but we already have AI models that are selling to military and police, where it connects to public cameras on the street. It can do facial recognition. It can do even emotional recognition, and that's I think that ship, me personally, I think that ship has sailed in terms of privacy as we know it, and definitely it's good that the awareness is there, but I think, we should not kid ourselves that when there is a reason for somebody to get some kind of data, let's say government or whatever, they will get it. So, my honest opinion.
Especially in regards with this case of Cambridge Analytica, what they did in the couple of cases across the world. It's a great movie on the Netflix, great hack, talking about how they really impacted decisions, serious decisions like Brexit, like US elections, or like this Trinidad and Tobago elections. It was a very interesting for me, that with manipulating data. So this is one of the things we have to really take care in order that we use data usefully and not on the wrong way. So Jelena, how can organizations ensure that they are collecting and using data in the way that respects individuals' privacy and data rights?
So, yeah, I'm also in sales. So by my experience, that what we see as a good practice is, as he said, that be transparent. So when you're collecting a data, the clients should know the reason why we are collecting this data and how this data will be used. Also, what we should do is minimize collecting this data. So we should not be collecting unnecessary data, and so just collecting data for a certain purpose should be like. And then the other thing is that clients should be aware of the data that we collected, and they should have a way to access this data and maybe delete or ask any type of edit needed, whatever. So also implement again the security measures that this data is also safe, as we said before. And I would say that if we just take care of just implement this type of measures, that data collection is, and also of course follow the GDPR, right? General Data Protection Regulation is something that put this all in one bucket, and then we are working with data the right manner.
Thank you.
Just wanted to add, maybe if you look at data or our private data as our currency that we trade with a brand, right? I'm okay. I mean, we already live in the world where you have to provide some kind of data if you want to have a personalized, offer for any type of product. I think with all this data, we will see a hyper-personalization down the road in terms of that potentially every product will be completely tailored to your need, especially with programming, not needing coding, but maybe even voice. So I think it's just that if I'm ready to provide your brand with my data, I expect something in return. If I don't get that in return, but you have a data breach and then I get spammed on my private email that I use for serious things, then you lose me as a customer. So I think that responsibility that if you look at your customers giving your data is like them giving you their currency or some kind of value, you have to return on it because it improves your services and your products. I think that's a valid trade-off, and we should approach as brands like that, to that kind of trade.
Thank you. Mariana, how organization can ensure that they are using data to drive innovation and create new business models and create new value? So this is, we are talking about data for the running current business, but the key of everything is innovations, to speed up innovations, to drive the change. So how data can effectively be used in this?
I think the easiest way, actually the most effective way to use data and to change organization is to apply it in innovation space. Because it's something new for the organization. It's difficult when you change old habits, but with something new, with a new service, with a new department, with something new, then you have more freedom within the organization to do something differently. So it's easier, and it's for companies, then they would like to experiment. Like for example, if you have a business that is not that too risky to change it and to experiment, then it is like the example of e-commerce. So it's easier to experiment with assortment in e-commerce because it's a smaller portion of your business than for a traditional brick and mortar assortment within each store. So it's like, okay, let's start with it and then change. And also about the innovation. So it's always about customers a new value. So it's about new revenue streams. And if you, especially for the data-rich businesses, if you observe the data you owe, you start thinking differently. Can I earn something more from the data I owe? First of all, can I be better to my customers? In many sense. And if you use data, especially now, even all businesses and all corporations, they say, we are data-driven. We apply artificial intelligence. But the truth is that lots of processes in organizations are actually not fully data-driven, and there are lots of things that can be improved within these processes and within the value you give to your customers. But organizations change, and I always recommend when they change, when they innovate, they should start with the value they give to customers. And there are excellent examples. For example, one of our clients improved, actually they use data differently. They enrich their customer database with additional data about lifestyles and values, and they created new products based on that, and they offered to their customers, so the conversion rate increased 4 times. So these cases, when you have in innovations, when you have results, then it's easier to jump to another project and another project, and that's actually the way how you let data drive. because you are always the new models and the way you handle data, they are always, the incremental change is really high, it's at least double digit, because you are always better than 2 columns in Excel spreadsheet. So it's easy to prove the value.
Exactly. Filipe, would you like to add something?
I mean, I would agree. Pretty much it's setting a vision, defining, what's the end goal, setting objectives, setting KPIs, and driving process, and then rinse and repeat, because it's a continuous improvement. I think for example, maybe an example in real life, mall group. Or a lot of these, gas stations that we are used are not, their primary or core business is not gas stations anymore. It is the retail part of the business, which means they are evaluating now B2C customers, what do they want, what do they need. Even now, the second shift is from the retail is actually to distribution. So, so we see shifts in business models of traditional companies. Maybe it can be horizontally, for example, banking in terms of digital banks, where before, it was, you have to go to a branch, So I think data is definitely the fuel in driving that innovation, and I think a lot of the skill sets that companies will look for will change in the coming future, are already changing in terms of who they are hiring.
Thanks. Vladana, would you like to?
Yes, but we covered several topics. So one was the ethic, the first one. The second one was regarding the value. Regarding the ethics, there is a lot to speak now, because of it is really, the world is changing. It's already changed. Actually, we just need to see how to adopt. But one thing is, when we are listening about those dilemmas, when his autonomous car is driving and there is some kids would kill the kids or kill myself, things like that. But when you have the personal experience about that, it's totally different. I will share my one. There is one company who created your digital twins as a person, and my friend is CTO there, and he asked me to join. I said yes, of course, it would be nice. But then I need to share the blood, the DNA, and things like that. And my older daughter approached to me and say, "Papa, but you didn't ask me would I like to share my part of DNA." So first I thought she was kidding. No. I have 2 daughters and wife, and my wife actually she really raised the level of this privacy awareness to both of my daughters, and we have family discussion about, can I, as a father, share my DNA without getting their permission? Okay, I said, though, it's a very serious company, and I asked their legal advisors. They didn't provide me the answer. They said, okay, we didn't have it. And that was my personal dilemma, really. So what is the point? The point is, it's really this ethical moment, the privacy, we are really going on the higher level. I don't know what, so I canceled actually the whole process about being in this pilot group. But still, I still have a dilemma. Can I make my own decision by my DNA or not? So this ethical, the point is going very, very high. And in the future, I think it will be much more and more. And for each of us individually, when you will face this personal dilemma, it will be really a huge challenge. And the second one, regarding the value, I think it's obvious. But what we are missing here, it's actually the business goal. If we are now speaking about the business, who is driving the business, is setting some business goal, and if organization have the proper data to achieve some goals, this is actually what Mirjana told us about. I will give you an example. I spent sometimes in Vivacom, when United Group acquired it, and they had a lot of data about the customers, because 3+ million of customers. But most of the data they were using about, what will be the next best offer, it's typically, but for the mobile services. Nobody was focused on the internet services. The whole idea about United Group is to have consumers and to provide them their own content. So they switch the goals and actually know, wow, what we should do now. It took some time, but based on the existing data, they created total new revenue streams, to achieve the goal, the new profit and everything. So the point is, I do believe that there is really big role of the people who are driving the business and then, chasing and challenging the organization to use the existing data we are collecting, because in most of the organization we don't know what all the data are we collecting, what we have in our, let's say, portfolio.
Yeah, and Vladane, we know each other for a long time, and you're one of the most prominent people in the regional IT industry. So with a huge experience in the not only in driving the business, but also in driving the innovations in the government sector. And this is one of the, we discussed how data can improve our business and innovations, but how data can be used to create the value for the society as a whole.
It's clear example about the air pollution. Who is living in Belgrade for many years, even 20 years ago, you knew that something is wrong. When I was living in Kragujevac, approaching to Belgrade, and going down from the Buben Potok, and actually you see if the weather is clear, it's nice, but very, very often it was smog. I don't know what is the English word for smog. So, but at that time, you didn't have the sensor to measure it and to be transparent to see it. Now with this Wipro, you can in real time see what is the air pollution. So this open data concept, I think this is the real revolution, and it forced actually the governments, because all the governments would like to keep, to secure, like for instance in Chernobyl, when the disaster happened, so they try to keep it on. So I do believe that with these sensors, who is collecting the data, and those sensors needs to be not owned by government, so it needs to be for the whole society, and sharing those information can make our life much, much better. Actually, to be aware that there is a problem and let's try to solve the problem. This is just one of the examples.
Yeah.
People cannot influence this.
That's not true.
Oh, yeah?
There is a lot of eco straža, and Torlica is part of, Zoran is part of that very.
Mariana.
Well, there are lots of areas where our lives can be better using data. And I will give just a few examples that I know. For example, eventually, 5 to 10 years ago, A1 decided to use locations data to build certain models and offer this data and these services as an additional revenue stream. And I learned, for the example, that like Ljubljana was using this location data actually to build a city evacuation plan. So based on bottlenecks in a certain streets, they built the way how the people can be evacuated in some things are happening. And lots of open data is actually now available. I think Slobodan Markovic will be here from UNDP. He was working a lot in Serbia to make this data, and UNDP is supporting this open data in Serbia. So there are lots of data that can be used from governmental institutions. For example, there is a nice case here in Croatia how data from money spendings and balance sheets in municipalities are analyzed by data analysts, and of course without layer identification you can immediately pointing out who is actually where the crime is and who is actually bribed and who is using government money unofficially. So just by making this data available, and there is obligation that you as a municipality open your expenditures to the public, because you are the public institution, and by applying just simple models you can discover who is where the corruption lies. Not only that, can you imagine what is happening now with all receipts, all transactions in a huge database of tax authorities in Serbia? So previously you knew the value of transaction, but you didn't know the content of the transaction. But now, with all receipts, you have all the content. So for example, you can optimize expenditures. You can decide based on this data what is the, let's say, minimal basket size. You can provide these services really to economists. You can discover those who are cheating and not paying taxes and things like that. So with data, and I'm looking forward to this data that is collected by the government in Serbia, because now it's clean data, so you can know, you can understand, for example, what Mercator is selling, what Deleuze is selling on each one, what is the cost, what are the prices of products. So you don't have to have price comparison websites. Government is having very detailed evidence about the price of 1 liter of milk each day, so they can see, they can model, they can see if the margins are okay or not okay, or things like that. So there are enormous opportunities how to use new data sources to improve people's lives if there is a goodwill. And for example, if you also take into consideration these large databases about media usage, like for example, United Cloud is having data, and what Vladan said earlier, so you can also see what are priorities of households with children, what actually children are looking, because it's also internet provider and it's also content provider, so they can analyze, having especially the yesterday event in our mind, so we can use these big content providers databases and cable providers databases to understand what are the habits of households with children, what content is consumed and in which way. So I think if there are institutions to finance this usage of data for public good, especially medicine, not to mention, I think opportunities are really, really excellent.
Yeah, but this is one of the, because my other face is data analytics. This talent management is a front face, and I was spending whole my life in the IT industry. So I will focus this in the for the good of the society on the couple of aspects. But what you mentioned, the just example of the tax authority ili poreske uprave. If you look how big is VAT in each country, if you save only 10%, and analyzing is that with a good predictive analytics for the VAT tax fraud, you can save up to 30% yearly. 30% is in our small countries, couple of billions. And for the couple of billions, you can renew the hospitals, schools, and invest in the something which is for the well-being. Also, anti-money laundering software. So this, let's divide it. This is professional software, mainly for the Ministry of Finance to save public money, prevent corruption, and if it is an interest, of course. For the society is definitely. Then another thing, public safety. Public safety is with the predictive analytics. We are all shocked with this yesterday news and everything. A lot of those kind of things can be predicted by the proper data analytics. Of course, in this we have a very serious. We have to be very careful and serious with privacy, with the ethical thing of usage data, but this is one of the things. Also, the analyzing face recognition software who is doing the analyzing can prevent the terrorism and criminals. So, and in the medicine, only the sky is limit because with the proper use of the data and with the involvement of artificial intelligence, we can save the time of our doctors that they can focus on 10% the most important things. So so all of these things are really, really very useful. So this panel is not about the artificial intelligence. So I don't want to open door for this, how it can help. Let's stay and be focused on the data. So Filipe.
No, I just wanted to ask, but does the means justify the goal, right? And who defines that? You were mentioning public good. The point of everybody who even does and the things we disagree will say, but it was for the greater good of the public, right? And then maybe I will say I disagree. Adam will say maybe I agree, right? But who sets it? And I think the big problem with all of this is policy making, right? We now have the European Union, which is the slowest administration ever in humanity. They want to, regulate ChatGPT, but how long did it take for them to set GDPR, right? It was years, and breaches were happening 10 years before GDPR was launched. So I think that's a major discussion: is how do we regulate how we use that data, and who says this is for the public good, this isn't. Yeah,
in the data management and in the AI field, and whole new economy, what we are talking based on the data as a fuel or as a there is a bunch of the new jobs. So I think last 10 years, and future will show it much, much faster, that completely talent profile are changed. So all of us are reading some articles on the internet and studying that up to 2030, 20%, so 30% of the jobs, the current jobs will disappear. Up to 2050, 90% of the jobs. So, but let's stay focused now on this time. So, it's already a lot of new jobs, new profiles. I remember 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when somebody was mentioning data scientists, so what is this? Data scientist. So it was some freak sitting and analyzing some data in some security agencies or somewhere, because in these services it was always existing in some ways. But now it's one of the most common and one of the most demanding profiles on the market. And according to the many or most analyses, the not very well paid, but the highest paid job profile is a data scientist nowadays. So how you see, this is a question for all of you, so you can jump in first. What is your thoughts about the current situation and what is needed in the near future to cover the current situation? Near future is 5 years maximum.
If I may say, I have a son, 17 years, and it's really difficult for me to advise him. I really constrain myself to advise him what to choose. So from one, he's in a Računarska gimnazija, so it's a programming high school, and one direction is either he would proceed because he's mathematical mind, and either he will become a programmer or maybe data scientist, or the other option is to go with sports. He likes basketball, maybe he will go to DIF, it's a faculty for, how to translate it, physical education. So, and then I really wonder, and then he asks, what should I select as a university? And honestly, I don't know. Because now, with this artificial intelligence or, let's say, solutions like ChatGPT, you have lots of programming part that previously you need years to come into to be as efficient as a programmer. Now you have a sort of this basic level at least, or maybe even more advanced in a data analytics and data science field that is offered by these solutions. So what kind of expertise is needed in the next 5 years? I can't answer. And I'm looking forward to your advices because of my private situation at home, what to tell to my son.
But this
Because
depends,
jobs will shut down. So.
If you are looking from the data perspective, because this is the subject here, I do believe that two aspects needs to be considered. One is the mathematics, the basics, so you need to have the knowledge, theoretical knowledge about what are the data sources, meaning, I don't know all English, but Boolova algebra, teorija skupova, all those things, so you need to be fluent, you need to know it, to have deep knowledge. And there is big but if you don't understand the content, the context of those data, you will not be able to provide useful and valuable data to your organization. So there must be some kind of mixture. So in this computer science, they also need to have a lot of, partially MBAs or something about the basic economics to understand the value of the data. So those things, unfortunately in our area, there is lack of knowledge. So people are used now to ask Google or this ChatGPT, whatever, and to get fast answers. So this quick answer is not good enough for the people who will be experts in their domains. So this need to change. So maybe, sport is good, because he will be fit, but maybe to give him the view of the business. So to combine those two things.
Why not? Maybe some of the colleagues on the panel have more experience with that, maybe going into that path now with this new adventure of mine in business, but it's also in terms of hiring. I don't have currently children, so that's a whole aspect of life I still have to discover. But I would say maybe if we go from hard skill, there's also soft skills or skills or personal traits that there are some skills you can teach somebody, and then there's others that you cannot. And I think the emphasis on the ones you cannot when looking for example, for new talent will be curiosity, which is definitely a human trait that has driven us to where we are today. But with all this fast food information, we're a little bit losing that because we're satisfied with the very basic information like a headline to make our opinion. So we are losing that critical thinking and curiosity to maybe go into other sources of information and so on, and also not to be straight experts in one field, but maybe do multidisciplinary, because if we have so much access to information, we can also branch out. And the other one is definitely, I would call it like elasticity, right? Because there are continuously new frameworks, new ways of thinking, and people that can maybe have been brought up through a system or one way of technology, and now their life has changed. Looking at my parents, and their use of technology that they didn't grow up. Our generations, we grew up with it, so maybe we're more elastic towards the new changes. So I think those personal traits will be the defining character of, let's say, if I will be hiring to look for that more than potentially maybe experience or what kind of degree it would have. But I think for me personally, what I'm a little bit concerned with, for example, in Croatia, is the education system, because education is the foundation of every civilization, and education is not following track with the developments and how fast everything is developing, especially using new technologies in education, especially tackling, if we're doing personalization of products, why aren't we doing personalization of education? That every child has a personalized way of educating. Some children have ADHDs, you know, there's a plethora of challenges that we are not tackling that are very tough to change. You know, it's to change an education system. We had a curricular reforma, which was obviously politically blocked. I'm not going to go into that. But that kind of change, it takes first a pilot program, a couple of schools, then more schools, then, you know, then you apply it, then you have a whole new generation that has to go through that education system. So we're talking a 20 years timeline for that to really become some efficient. So I think that this question is maybe the most difficult question that we talked about, and it's difficult to come up with a smart answer.
Yeah. So if you remember, and to paraphrase Jack Ma on his famous speech a couple of years ago in Davos, when he was talking about the education and in the nowadays, so that kids should learn sports, art, something which artificial intelligence cannot impact so heavily. So maybe this is time for this. I also have twins, 17 years old. Have to advise them for their third grade. So in 1 year they will go to the university. So it's difficult, but one thing is constant, and I will agree with Vladan here. So mathematics was always basis of everything. Of course, I'm not talking about the mother tongue, the languages, history. This is a foundation of knowledge. So, but mathematics is a basis, especially now this applied mathematics and statistics. So in medicine or in pharmacy, you cannot work without proper knowledge of mathematics. So learn the mathematics. This is something very useful. So at the end, I hope that we here have some entrepreneurs, and especially that we have some future entrepreneurs here. No matter with age, because you decide to be entrepreneur where you are mature enough that when this idea is mature enough in you. So I decided a couple of years ago to be entrepreneur. What will be the advice you can give to the people starting the new business, especially connected, or how to use the data in new business, and especially if the new business is very connected with the data? So, Filipe.
So maybe, you know, and Mariana mentioned this, and we should not lose sight with it, because, you know, there's a lot of companies doing stuff, our friends doing stuff, that's cool, we want to do it, but the question is why. Like in the book Simon Sinek's Start With Why. So why are you doing what you are doing, right? So and at the center of the why can be the customer, can be the employee, right? So if it's the customer, you know, start with what kind of experience I want the customer to have, and then build out, you know, choose the technology, data privacy, use the data models, and but if you don't have that why, and are just collecting data and then are just like shooting in the dark, you know, and hoping for a hit, you're going to lose a lot of bullets. So I think, you know, in Salesforce they have like become a customer of your customer, right? Put your shoes in that, and I think maybe that will be the answer to what kind of data you need, you know, analyzing trends, and it's a continuous thing, right? Because, you know, you have new generations, new attitude towards products, of how they consume them, and so on. So it's not, you can buy a bunch of technology, the best technology out there, but a tool that you don't know how to use is a waste of money. So
Exactly. So,
Well, it's a tricky question for me personally because 20 plus years ago I started my own business. But, if you believe what you want to do, of course, and you need to really understand and know your own business. So when you step in now, we had a lot of those startups initiatives and challenging them. The first question is what you want to achieve. So 20 plus years ago, my goal was to survive. Really, that was to survive after 2001 and then set up the business. The second goal is to understand how to do it. And of course, you need to understand the data. You need to track and monitor the data about your business and then to be brave to change maybe some direction. So if we are theoretically speaking, so all entrepreneur needs to be brave, needs to understand their business and really need to rely on some data. In the early beginning, it's very hard to get data because if you are starting the business, but you need to be aware that you need to understand who is your customer, what he wants, or to try to collect some data. And for the difference from 20 plus years ago, now a lot of data is available because we are living in digital world. So be brave, be focused, and don't be afraid to analyze data. And once when you get the answer and conclusion based on the data, scratch your head and think, are you doing good or you are not doing good? So don't be afraid to change it. Sorry for this wide answer, but...
thank you. Ladies?
So I can comment from this other aspect, right? So since we are handling and working with so much data and we understand how the business will be driven by this data in the future, I would just give an advice, have a right security measure in place because it's your responsibility, the data that you collect. You're also working with the people, that is all, the data is very sensitive. So make sure you have right security measure in place so this data also safe and that your client feels safe when sharing this data with you, right?
Okay, so innovations and advice for maybe startup or a startup within the organization. So it's obvious, like Philip said, start with the needs of your customer and how to improve the life to your customer, and then use data to help you being better in that. And then you can grow, you can achieve the value and by being relevant to your customer. It's simple as that. It's not new. I mean, as long as customers exist, it's always the same. If you are relevant to your customer, you will win. And if you use the data to be more relevant, then you will win. And simple as that. It's an additional tool and support, let's say, to the marketing or the strategy of the company to help you being more relevant. So it's only about that. It's very old challenge for all businesses.
So, thank you very much. I hope that we succeed to at least initiate you to think, and that we put this little bug in you to think about your future, about the starting new business. And my message for you at the end is also, I like to citate different people. So now Steve Jobs, for the Stanford commencement speech some years ago, that stay let's change it a little bit. So be hungry, be passionate, and still leave a space to have a fun. Because if you do things with the fun, you will enjoy, and I'm pretty sure that business will be much more interesting and better. Because when you do the business and if you are satisfied and happy, it's always much better. Thank you.
Any question?
So,